Today on our show, what's pink and plastic and has youth ministry talking points written all over it? Plus, our thoughts on the perfect night of youth group and what's the role of teaching in our ministries, even for those of us who haven't planned it yet. And we learn that Shannon is absolutely ruthless when it comes to pickleball and dodgeball. It's episode 3 of the Youth Ministry Sherpas Coast to Coast, so roll down your windows and let's get started. Here we go. Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 3 of the Youth Ministry Sherpas Coast to Coast. My name is Steve Anderson. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Shannon Dunn. Hey Shannon.
Hello, how's it going, Steve?
And Brock Morgan. Hey Brock.
Hello, Steve.
How are you guys today?
So good.
Good.
I am doing great today, actually. Feeling good.
Good. You know, I was here earlier and you guys weren't here because we messed up our time. So I was going to do like a whole episode by myself and it would have been really lame, but I decided to wait for you both instead.
That's the tricky part about Coast to Coast.
It is for sure. We are brought to you by Download Youth Ministry. We're proud members of the Download Youth Ministry Podcast Network. And I want to give a shout out to an event that DYM has coming up really soon on September 23rd. It is the National Day of Volunteer Youth Ministry Training, and it's awesome.
Yes, it is.
Our church has hosted that now. I think this will be the 5th year we've done that, and you can bring your whole team for just $169, as many volunteers as you want to be part of that. There are locations all around the country that you can sign up for and bring your team to. And all you got to do is go out to dymtraining.com. You'll see it out there. You can register your church for $169. Best deal ever. You know who's one of the speakers this year?
Tell me.
Incredible Christine Kane.
I saw that.
Yeah, for real. So this is like top level training. Christine Kane, Albert Tate, Doug Fields, all kinds of great people. So
Heather Fleece is always my favorite at the trainings.
She's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so go sign up for that. So we're going to get into today's show. What have you guys been up to?
Well, I've been playing a lot of pickleball this week with my kids. We've been putting up a net in our the parking lot behind our house, and my husband and I really like to make fun of when they're terrible behind their backs. So it's just given us a lot of energy. It's great. It is harsh and fun.
Does that mean that you're actually good at pickleball?
No, I'm terrible, but I'm better than my 6-year-old. So
yes,
wow,
it's all I can hope for.
Are you one of those people that like spikes it on her just to prove that you're still in charge?
Every once in a while.
You got to keep them humble. You know, they start getting overconfident, and you got to kapow them once in a while.
Oh my
god! My fourth grader, literally, we were talking about teams, and my husband was like, "All right, we're gonna put the 4th grader and him on a team, and then the 6-year-old and me on a team." And my 4th grader, it was the opposite of that. My 4th grader was going to be a team with me, and she goes, "At least we'll both have someone bad on our team, Dad." I was like, what?
How dare she?
Where did she learn to have a burn like that?
Come on.
Rough. Well, that's now me because I play with my sons and they're all tennis players, you know, now taking up pickleball in the prime of their physical prowess.
Yeah, of
course. And they're like, all right, it's the two of us. Who wants Dad? So it's coming back around, Shannon.
What have you guys been up to this week?
Steve, you go.
Well, you know what I did last night?
Tell us.
I went to see the Barbie movie.
My favorite movie, yeah.
Your favorite movie ever.
All right, that's being extreme, but I enjoyed it.
You know what? It was good. After you hyped it up, I had my doubts. I was thinking, I'm not really sure I'm going to like this as much as everybody's been saying, but I actually really did. I laughed out loud pretty constantly through the movie. So, very enjoyable.
One moment that made me laugh so hard, I met my husband at summer camp, and he was like playing the guitar all over camp, like, you know. Okay, you know. So there's a line in the movie where Ken's like, I'm going to sit here and play this guitar at you. And I just like lost it. And my husband looks at me like, why are you laughing so hard? Just like, you know exactly why I'm laughing so hard. Mm-hmm. That is teenage boy at summer camp.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. Yeah, that was a really, really funny scene. Now, Brock, have you seen the movie yet?
You know, I have not seen the movie. I want to see it. It's just, you know, I'm a busy man, you know.
Are you saying seeing a Barbie movie isn't on your priority list? I don't understand.
No, I really want to. I haven't seen any, like, I haven't been to a movie in a while, and I've had a hard time getting to it. Yeah.
It's fair.
Anyway, I want to. I've read about it. I have loved the extreme perspectives on it.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and then the opposite side. That's fun, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of cultural work to be unpacked in that movie. I don't know, Shannon. I thought it was equally hard and kind on both men and women.
Yeah. I mean, you have to take it. You can't take it so seriously that you're now getting super offended by it, which I think I've heard some people say, right, that they're like taking it so seriously that they're just like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened, you know. But I think if we can look through a different lens at it, and I think every movie has like the good and the bad, and well, maybe some movies are all bad, I don't know, but most movies I could find something a little bit redemptive. Yes. And I just think that there's some, first of all, I laughed really hard. So bringing joy, that's good, right? But I saw some like ministry things that relate to like working with teenagers in it. Like, I think Barbie was really trying to search for her identity, belonging, her purpose, her autonomy, you know, like, and so was Ken actually in these different worlds that they were living in. And so I think we can look at it and be like, hey, that's sort of what a teenage girl is going through, or women in general. There was some of that. America Ferrera has this monologue where she talks about some of the things that girls have to be, like, you know, be a boss, but don't be mean, or like, you know, look good, but don't be too into yourself. Some of these like very like polarizing ideas. And I was like, if that doesn't give you a message to what our girls are going through, like, that's some truth bombs right there. So,
dude, and our culture has lost the ability to, it's like our souls are inflexible, and we've lost the ability to laugh and have humor and receive and even gain a new perspective. And it's ridiculous. I have friends who go to movies and they have never seen a movie they like. They complain about every movie. I'm like, why are you even going?
Right.
Yeah, it's just annoying. But I the things I've read on Barbie, I think there's a lot in there that could lead to some amazing conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So one of the ideas that I've been thinking about even before seeing it and now after is how my ministry treats the girls in the ministry. How do I do at ministry to girls? You know, I have 2 brothers and 3 sons. So, and I have 65% of my student ministry is female. And so I have to step back sometimes and ask myself, what's my perspective on ministering to the girls, and do I do a good job of that? Do you guys ever think about that?
Yes.
Is it different? Is it different for guys versus girls, and how so?
Yeah. I used to say that I liked ministering to middle school boys like way more than middle school girls. I thought it was easier. And now I don't think either is easier, but I think sometimes at face value, I think girls can be present as more challenging at that age, just because of where their emotions are at and things like that. But
you know what they say about girls' emotions?
What do they say? Do I want to hear this? I'm just kidding.
Girls swim, like the differences between girls and boys. Girls swim in a pool of emotion, and boys pee in the pool.
There you go. Yeah.
Not the Barbie pool, because it's actually just a hard surface.
Yeah.
So,
You can walk on water in the Barbie
Yeah.
movie. I think it's biblical.
Ken and Barbie have no genitals. Can I say that word on this podcast?
I don't think you can.
Part of the joke. So.
Make sure you censor
I
that.
just did. Anyway, Shannon, go ahead. Keep going.
Well, no, I just think about, middle school girl is, they make snap judgments. So if they walk into a room and they are going to quickly decide whether you like them, whether they belong there. And often those judgments are wrong. Like, we do like them and we do want them there. But if you even looked at your phone instead of them, the second they walked in the room, they've already decided you don't like them and something is wrong with them. And so I do think, for girls, we have to be specific about how we create environments and and for boys as well, but they're slightly different. They're nuanced, but only a little bit. Like, the more I think about it, each of them have, small nuances, because boys also want to walk in a room and feel like they belong.
Sure.
They just might not be making quite as quick of a judgment as the girl is making about you, especially.
Yeah, I think that, when back in the 90s or 80s, even when they were teaching the differences between genders, I think there was a tendency to overgeneralize and like, boys learn through doing, girls learn through talking, things like that. While that might be true to a degree, the reality is that you have both kinds of kids in your room, and you need to be aware of that, regardless of if they're boys or girls. And then I think overgeneralizing has even led to some gender confusion. So you have these cultural, like, this is what a girl is, this is what a boy is. And when I don't fit in it, in today's world, that could lead to some. So I think overgeneralizing can be really, it can help a little bit, but like you said, it's more nuanced, and it's also done a lot of damage. So we have to just be aware of that.
Do you guys consciously, when you've programmed, think in terms of gender? I'm going to make sure that there's this element and this element, or is it just kind of you're creating the environment and it's working out?
I mean, the only thing I really think about is having the male and female leaders both represented.
Sure.
And then thinking about, I don't think because of gender, but I think just because of personality. Like, am I always doing super athletic games? No. And that's based off boys and girls. I have some girls and boys that are super athletic and they vibe off those games. And then I have others who are not, and they're not going to vibe off. So I think about balancing it, but not usually based off of gender, mostly based off of different personalities and things that kids are into.
Yeah. Yeah. Has your ministry changed over time, do you think, as you've gotten older, as your ministry to girls, your perspective, just the way that you interact with them, has it changed?
Yeah, I think that when I was first doing ministry, I felt like everything we did appealed mostly to girls. Really? Church felt like a female sport. Men go to church and they're like, stand up, sing, turn to the person next to me, share my feelings. It just felt
you're stereotyping men now, Brock.
I am. And this is when I was first in ministry, what my teachers taught. And so I think when I started, like at 19, I was thinking my target is boys. And I thought that way. I was kind of schooled that way. I don't think that way at all anymore. I just think people are diverse and different. We got all kinds of kids. We've got kids coming in here who are amazing relationally. They're extroverted, have, we have other kids who are struggling with social anxiety. And I just have this kids who are full of skepticism and doubt. And then kids who are strong in their faith. And then, by the way, next week they're going to switch positions and lose their faith, or like So I just kind of moved more to a diversity of all kinds of people. But I do think that I have a question for you, because I think that boys and girls, I wonder if their experiences and struggles, like, are females having particular struggles because of the world they're growing up in, generally speaking? Are boys having particular struggles growing into manhood because of the world they're growing up in? And how can we as youth workers, like, come alongside of them, help them, journey with them? Are there some specific struggles that we could address? Silence.
Yeah.
Well, big question there.
It's a big question.
Well, I think it's interesting that you said like manhood and womanhood, because I think historically in the Christian world, we had sort of very specific definitions of what that looked like for a season. And I think a lot of Christians have been like, okay, I think we were stereotyping and we were boxing in and we were creating something that isn't necessarily based off of scripture, but was like culture. And so I think, I don't know. I mean, that's just the first thing that came to my mind is like, we have to be careful to say like that we have a specific way that we're trying to raise them into manhood or womanhood. And I'm not talking about gender identity here. I'm just saying like what perceptions of what a man is supposed to look like and what a woman is supposed to look like has changed a lot. And I think we've corrected in good ways in that. But one of the ways that I feel like, I don't know, what came to my mind when you said that is like one of the ways that I think we help raise them into that is by like being examples and like living life with them as someone who's adulting, male or female, but like, you know, like showing them what our family looks like, showing them what our house looks like, bringing them into our lives to just live it with us, I think is one of the ways that we help them into what, you know, being an adult is like.
One of the best things that's ever happened to our student ministry was when I was able to hire a full-time girls director about 6 years ago. Just to balance me, but also just to bring that female perspective into our ministry, which didn't exist. And, you know, we are a complementarian church. And I don't want to get too deep into that conversation, but I think specifically what having the girls director does and what I see as kind of my mission now at my age is I want our young girls to be inspired to be all they can be for the kingdom of God, whatever role that takes them to. And I want to make sure that they're getting that message and are inspired to follow God's lead wherever that takes them, and to not be stuck into certain patterns or roles that maybe the church has subtly communicated to them. So that's a challenge, I think, but that's kind of what I see as what I can do as a male leader of a ministry, to make sure that our girls feel fully validated, that their gifts are expressed. And honestly, you know, 3/4 of our student leaders are girls, and they are incredible. And our ministry needs them to be their fullest selves to flourish. So that's what I see as my role in their life.
Yeah, placing models in front of our kids. These adults of all ages who are, you know, fully human, you know, living life, doing their best to flourish, to when they struggle, being vulnerable, asking for help.
You sound like you just watched the Barbie movie.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of where it lands. Like she's trying to be fully human and understand herself, and what are the emotions, and what's her role in the world. It's identity, belonging, and purpose, right, Shannon? Yeah.
And to be honest, those three questions should be addressed every single time we are with kids. Identity, identity, who am I? Autonomy, do I and my choices matter? Belonging, where do I fit? And the gospel answers these three questions. The culture's answering these three questions.
Sure.
Right.
And so identity, autonomy, and belonging. I remember Tim Keller, before he passed away, he was asked, what would you do more of if you could go back? And he said, I would talk about identity every single sermon. And that's what we do as youth workers. We are constantly identity, autonomy, and belonging, because even our students they're not even aware that they're asking these questions are constantly asking these questions. And so
Brock, do you think though that girls and guys are asking that question differently?
I don't necessarily think so. I do think that there are some. So I like nuance, and so when I was first in ministry, we talked a lot about the differences between guys and girls. When the 2000s hit, we talked about how no, they're all the same, and the nurture versus nature argument. And now I am less concerned about any of that, and more look at people as individuals. And but I think that there's some nuance for sure.
Well, everybody, you got to go see the Barbie movie, and you got to talk about it with your students, because I'm sure they've seen it. I know students that have already seen it like 3 or 4 times.
I want to be friends with those students.
It's really funny. Don't be offended. It's Shannon's. She thinks it's the greatest movie ever, so you're going to love it. Hey, let's go to our next segment. Get to know your Sherpa. So one of the things that we want this show to be about is just a conversation for everyone who's watching and listening to feel like you're just sitting with your friends and you're talking student ministry. So we're going to do these little segments for a little bit called Get to Know Your Sherpa, and ask a question about student ministry, and each of us respond to it. And Brock, you brought this question. I thought it was really good. Might reveal a little bit about who we are and what drives us. The question was, what does your best night of youth group look like? That's a good question. We've all had those nights, right? Where it's like, oh, that was just the best night ever. So what does that look like, Brock?
Oh, we're going straight to me.
We're going straight to you. Is your question?
Oh, man. I think it's when youth group is happening and I'm on vacation in Hawaii. That's a good night, man.
That is a good night, yeah.
And then you get back and people are like, it's completely fine when you're not here. Actually, you should go away more. And then you're humbled and you're like, all right.
Yeah.
I think
no, that means you're a good leader, Brock, and you've raised up good leaders.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, I want laughter, barrel loads of laughter. Laughter seems to bring down any division between us.
Yeah.
I want us just enjoying each other. I think there are a couple goals. If we can grow closer to each other, grow closer to God, and then maybe even be challenged in our thinking, that's a good program. That's a good youth group.
It's a good night. Yeah. How about you, Shannon?
Well, I feel like you won't find this surprising based off of my pickleball explanation, but I want to start with dodgeball. I want to get out a little bit of that aggression, a little bit of that energy, but dodgeball that doesn't end in crying, dodgeball that's just a good, fun, let it all out.
Does it end in crying a lot at your church? You must be quite the player if you're taking kids out and making them cry.
Sometimes it's me crying. So
Okay.
I have a few memories of some senior boys who play baseball. Just hit me real good. But no, I like just to start with big fun energy and start there. But I think, and also if that night can end with a good one-on-one conversation where a kid is just, you and that kid are just really engaged and sharing vulnerably. You know, it's like, I love to have both of those things in a night. And I'm like, that was good, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that meets the needs of a lot of kids that show up. I think kids are going to show up to youth groups sometimes who don't need that moment of vulnerability. They actually needed to let off that steam. Like, school has been hard, studying has been hard, and I need to laugh and I need to play. I think there's a lot of space for play. Yeah. And then I love one-on-one conversations. So I think if a kid pulls me aside for one of those, that's a sweet spot.
That's good. That's good. I'm gonna steal a little bit from both of you, I think. Nobody mentioned attendance, but I do like a night with a solid attendance.
It's fair.
So I'm that shallow. I'm not all about the numbers, but you know, a night where you feel like all your kids have come is a good night, and some new kids have come too. That's a good night. We always love to have new kids come. And then from there, I think what you were getting at, Brock, is just that spirit of joy and laughter and community that can happen on a good night is amazing. Lots of laughter. The game goes well and nobody got embarrassed. And everybody laughed and went home feeling like they belonged. Our leaders went home feeling like they had good conversations, and the students were engaged in the topics. They were prayerful towards each other. They listened to me if I'm teaching. They actually listened, laughed at my jokes, and felt like, you know, when you're speaking and you feel like the room has kind of become one. If you're doing it, if you're doing well and everybody's with you and you're all in it together. I love that feeling. And then Shannon, what you said, that one-on-one conversation after the night is over, to be sitting on the couches as kids are leaving and sit down with a couple kids or a kid and get to know them better, hear their story, or have them share with you what's really going on. So yeah, those are all really good pieces of a good night. Laughter, community. Yeah.
One thing that we started doing, and I tried to do this sooner, but our youth group really struggled with spiritual hunger for quite a long time. But as the temperature kind of started heating up, we would end after my talk, we would do one more song of worship, and kids would come up and get prayed for. And that added element for a kid moving and receiving prayer from either a leader or their peer, because we do both. When we don't do that, I hear it from kids like, dude, what the heck? Why didn't we? So for our kids, if we don't have times of needed prayer, and you think about what kids are struggling with today, in answering the 3 tasks of adolescence, which we spoke about a few moments ago, the difficulty in that today, not just, hey, get in your small groups and pray for one another. I want that to be awesome too. But there's something amazing about watching kids lining up, getting prayed for, praying for each other, and that being like normative rhythm for our group. So yeah, we have fun, we play a game or whatever, but we also pray. We take it seriously. We think God actually hears us. Yeah. That I go home pumped when I feel like we're moving on all cylinders, where we're deep spiritually, we're deep relationally, we're deep fun. Anyway.
Are you guys able?
Sorry, what percentage of your nights turn out like that?
Dude,
I would say it's a high percentage for me. Yeah, no, I think it's a pretty high percentage of nights that, I mean, we may not have every single piece, right? But like, generally, my question was gonna be like, when you leave youth group afterwards, like, are you able to go to sleep? Because I'm exhausted, but I can't go to sleep. Like, I'm pumped. So I like end up staying up super late on youth group nights because like, generally, unless it's been a really hard night. But on those nights, I like get home and I'm energized. I'm like, What are we doing?
Yeah.
Dude, after youth group, we always used to go out to eat. And now I'm 51 years old, and if I do that, I'm having acid reflux. So our young leaders are like, "Hey, let's go out." I'm like, "No, I can't. I can't do that."
Did someone pack the Tums?
Exactly. Gas X, please. Can we? Yeah.
Could that be one of our sponsors?
Yeah. Oh,
Tums.
this segment is brought to you. Oh my gosh! Yes.
Prilosec.
I would say last year, I was 50-50. But again, I'm new to my church. I mean, I've been here 3 years, but it's a church plant kind of thing, and all new students, not from church families, many, like most of them. And so I think if I were to look at the last 12 months, I would say 50% of the time I went home going, what are we doing? Oh, and it was a battle. And I was always strategizing and thinking and praying. It kept me desperate. And the second half of the year, it was like, okay, it's starting to get fun now. But dude, those nights when it doesn't go well, or maybe I just can't come in, like you work your tail off, maybe preparing the talk, and then you have a Jesus complex and you're like, this talk will change everything. And you get up and deliver it, and they're like, not. I mean, it goes nowhere. Yeah. You just go home, what am I doing? Or you worship and there's no passion. And you're like, oh, I hate this. Why do we're just singing. We're not worshiping.
When your band falls apart in the middle of worship set.
There's that too. Oh my God.
All right, let's segue into our final segment for today.
Yes, so you guys, we are moving into the fall. School is starting. And so I want to hear, I mean, we've been talking about guys versus girls, what our perfect night of youth group is, but I want to hear about the things that you are teaching this fall. What are some of the things you're planning for?
Brock, you want to go first?
Oh,
sorry,
man.
Should have asked you specifically.
All right. Well, so this is how we're doing it. We're doing a lot of stuff on identity, autonomy, and belonging. So I'm addressing some of that, which is kind of neat. We do these once a month vertical nights that are more worshipful, prayerful, and our kids are getting way into them. They're digging them. And so that's fun. We also do certain nights that are like, I've rented a roller skating rink for Halloween. That's going to be awesome. That's like my favorite, in costume on roller skates. Last year, I put one roller skate, my right roller skate, on the wood of the roller skating rink and flew through the air and landed on my back. I thought I was going to die. I'm like, how in the world? I used to be good at this.
Wow.
So we also throw in some of those.
You got acid reflux and back issues.
You lose your ability. Like you wake up one day and you're like, I can't do anything.
Youth ministry is killing you, Brock.
It is killing me. So that's some of the stuff we do. And I tend to do even the fun things on Wednesday nights also.
Oh, that's interesting. So when you plan a fun event, it's going to be the same night as you typically have youth group.
Yeah, we're not doing like a Friday night event much. Once in a while, but mostly, that once a quarter, once a month event night, that's happening on a Wednesday night. We're all there anyways. Kids are super busy. I just found that I land my punches when I keep it on Wednesdays.
Yeah. That's actually the exact same thing I shifted to last year. Our youth group was on Tuesday nights, and if I'm going to have a neon night or what else, other things like that, we just do it on the Tuesday night, because having them there on a weekend is almost never works out.
We are doing a Barbie night. I should have said that in that one segment. We're doing a Barbie night. Yes, come. Yes. Steve?
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, youth ministry confession time here. I haven't planned my teaching yet for this year.
Wow.
So, yeah.
You want me to send you mine?
I've got all, we're working on our big kickoff, and we have a fall retreat at the end of October, youth leader onboarding, student leader ramp up, all of that stuff. And the teaching calendar is something that I have not thought about yet. So it's on the agenda. I'm going to have it done before we start. We don't start until the 10th of September. So
oh my goodness, you got time.
I got some time. Yeah. And I won't actually have a first message until the 17th. So I'm really not sure, but I think, probably go 8-week series on Barbie. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but I always really look forward to kind of creating that. So yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So I'm not, maybe I'll explain this more in a different episode, but I'm not in a typical youth ministry role. So I'm not planning for the fall right now in this season, but our church leadership really emphasized our kids and students ministry this last few years using curriculum. So we happen to use Orange curriculum, but there's lots of good curriculums out there. But they really wanted us to intentionally do that to free our time up to do other things, to be relational, to pour into leaders and do other things. And so we're a smaller church, and so my hours were less and things like that. And so the capacity, my pastor really said, I just want you to use a curriculum. And so honestly, I wouldn't be thinking that hard about what it was coming up, because the scope and sequence is already in that curriculum, built out. Yeah. And I know DYM has some really awesome resources to be able to do that. So you can free yourself up.
Do you prefer that?
It's a good question. Yes and no. So because my weeks would often feel so busy and so busy, I would really be thankful that I could just sort of like sign in, read a script. I wouldn't read the script, but learn that script, and I'd have to come up with it. There's another side of me, though, that really loves creating and gets energy from creating. And I would realize if I hadn't done any curriculum creating in a long time or lesson writing, then I would start to feel weird and need that. But I had 3 programs a week I was running. And so almost always I was creating curriculum for one of the 3.
3 programs a week. Shannon. Oh.
It kind of gets to the question of, what is the role of teaching in the ministry? Because it depends on kind of the ethos of your church, but some churches, like, it's all about the teaching, right? And it's super important. And there's a whole culture of, emphasis on deep preparation and content. And then there's the reality of relationships and other things, leadership development, and all those things matter just as much. And you don't have time for everything. So there's that balance of it. So, what is the role of teaching in your ministry? What level does it rise to in importance, is a question that I think we all need to ask ourselves and balance our time accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say we put a lot more emphasis on the small group time than we did on the teaching. And teaching was really for us and our whole church. I would even say for our adults, teaching is like the diving board we're jumping off of, but it's not everything. And so we emphasize what's going on in small groups for us.
Do you think, Shannon, that the teaching is what sets up? It's kind of viewed as this is setting up your discussion. Is that kind of how you view it?
100%. And again, to emphasize, especially for us, because our middle school and high school is combined because of the size that we are. And so especially because of that, they have to be able to just take it to the next level, or not take it to the next level, maybe for middle schoolers, whatever, but they have to be able to nuance it in those small groups. And so the teaching is the setting up for small group time.
What is your guys' time? So how long are you speaking? How long in small groups?
15 to 20 minute message, 45 minutes of small groups.
I would say we're doing a 10 to 15 minute message and 30-minute small groups.
Gotcha.
Our youth group isn't that. So I was back to back night doing 4th and 5th grade and then middle school and high school. And so I was only really with them hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, that's quick.
Shorter. That's it. Yes, exactly.
How about you, Brock?
Oh, dude, I talk, you know.
Yeah, I know. I've had you at our retreat before, so.
I, 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 I try to give our small groups 30 minutes, and I typically speak about 20.
Okay. As you plan your teaching calendar for the year and the emphasis on that element of the program, I think it's really important, and I love to teach. I'm sure you guys love to teach and love to speak truth to kids. At the same time, it's not everything, right? So if you're spending 20 hours a week doing messages, you need to redirect some of that time and energy. One of my pet peeves, honestly, in the teaching culture of church is like the overemphasis on how important it is to be up front. Like when we give students opportunities to teach, they take it super seriously and they think it's like I'm preaching tonight. And I always kind of want to temper that a little bit and be like, you know what, you're sharing with the group. You're not preaching, you're sharing your heart, you're sharing scripture. And I don't know. I chafe against oh, you really killed it tonight with that message, like celebrating that above everything else. That's not how.
No, I'm with you. Yeah. And if I could, I would never teach, at least without a kid teaching also. Like if I could do that, and I try to do that semi-regularly, it's just a lot of work to bring kids in. But to have kids have that opportunity, but you're right, that whole thing of like the star communicator, ugh.
Yeah, Jesus shows up in all the parts, even dodgeball.
Yes, he does.
He's a heck of a dodgeball player.
Dude, we need to make a t-shirt. We need a Jesus dodgeball t-shirt. I would wear that.
All right.
Who do you think was his favorite disciple to hit?
Oh, we know that.
Judas.
Was it Judas? I don't know.
Maybe it was Peter, because he was like, hey, get it into your head, dude.
Dude, it's totally Peter.
Okay. Hey, as we wrap up today's show, we want to encourage youth workers everywhere to keep going, to experience the joys, the blessings, and the fruit of longevity in ministry. And so Shannon thought of this amazing question to answer at the end of the show. What kept us going in youth ministry this week? And Shannon, since it was your question, let's hear what your answer is first.
Sure. For me this week, it was a quick conversation on a Sunday morning with a high school student. And I hadn't seen her in a while, and she was excited to see me, and I was excited to see her. And we just, kind of settled on like, let's have coffee this week. And I just get really excited and pumped for those one-on-one moments with students. And that I know coming up, I can continue to engage her in conversation. So
that's awesome. How about you, Brock?
Yeah. Oh, I love that, Shannon. This time of year is kind of a pause in our ministry as we're gearing up for the fall. And so I'm meeting with a lot of adult volunteers. But yesterday I met with a youth pastor. She's a youth pastor in Long Beach, and kind of on the front end of her career in youth work. And we met at this cool coffee shop, and isn't it amazing to just hear the heart of youth workers and their passion and oh my gosh, I just left so encouraged and inspired hearing her talk about her students and her calling and figuring out how to navigate the church world, which isn't easy. And I just left going, oh my gosh, I love what we do. And so that was super encouraging for me.
That's where one of you asked me the question.
Steve, what about you? Because I'm dying. I mean, I need to know what's kept you going at your age.
Oh, my age. Wow. other than ibuprofen, two things. One, we have a baptism service coming up for the church, and I got to talk to two young ladies that I don't know super well in high school girls that want to get baptized. And that was really, really encouraging. The other one was I had three of my recently graduated guys over for dinner last week. We made some pizzas in our pizza oven. They graduated a year ago, and they were kind of my guys in high school. And
so fun.
Just the conversations that we could have now, a year removed from student ministry.
Yeah.
It was like we laughed. We talked about some really deep stuff, and it was just so cool to have that relationship built over time and have a conversation that probably couldn't have with them when they were still in high school, but now we can have some really cool conversations. So that was awesome. Thank you guys for being with us today on episode 3 of the Sherpas Coast to Coast. We're going to keep rolling along. Don't forget to go to dymtraining.com and sign your group up for the National Day of Volunteer Youth Ministry Training, which is on September 23rd. And go out to YouTube. Make sure, as Shannon likes to say, that you
smash that subscribe button.
And follow us on all podcast platforms. If you want to reach out to us, you can send us a message at youthministrysherpas@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, and give us a 5-star review on iTunes. That would be awesome as well. We will be back with another episode 4, very soon. Until then, bye.
See ya.
Brock, did you hate yourself?
I know, like,
so hard. I can't hear you.